It was a Sunday morning and I got a phone call off Ryland. He goes, "You just check your email." I was like, "Nah." And he goes, "Benny, he wants you to come to Fiji." I was frothing my head off.
Yeah, Ben said it's going to be pretty good for him to, you know, say last minute jump on a plane and get over here. I think it's going to be pretty decent by the looks of it.
Documentation. The Fijian government requires you to earn all
Didn't expect to get on a little boat to a little tiny island. That was pretty wild. The island is sick. It's nothing that I expected. It's tiny. Just the people and the way everything works here is so good. Just like, it's just buffet dinner every night, breakfast, lunch, go surfing all morning.
I didn't really know what to expect with the Motu. I'd seen a heap of footage and photos over the years, but the most insane spot you've ever been to, it's it's pretty magic. 10 waves within a 5-minute boat ride, half a dozen straight out front, so.
My name's Woolnough. I come from Hawaii, and I first came down here in 1989. Was my first visit. Been very fortunate to be able to come back every year to volunteer as a lifeguard here. It's amazing here, you know. The kite surfing aspect is really good because Tabaru is round and waves come to it from all angles. The Motu as well. And you can ride starboard, you can ride port, you can ride lefts, rights, all in the same session.
I like to consider this place as my second home. Such a cool place, and also, you know, this is where I learned to kite surf, and you know, like without the Motu, I probably wouldn't have the career that I do in kite surfing. So, you know, like I owe so much to this island, and I just, you know, love coming back here every time. It's the best place in the world.
Yeah, the swell's supposed to be hitting tomorrow. Everyone's calling it the biggest swell in about the last 8 or 9 months to hit Fiji. Bit mixed really. I'm pretty pumped to see how big it gets, but don't know, I guess I hope it's either super windy so we can kite it, or it's pretty clean so we can tow, because I don't really feel like paddling if it's 12 foot.
I'm really excited about this swell. I actually haven't been able to sleep for the last couple of days, just the whole build-up. So it's going to be big. It's going to be really big. It looks like we could get some really strong trade winds as well. And that's the really exciting thing about throwing kite surfing into the whole surfing mix, is that if the wind does come up and it is a bit blown out and not so good for surfing, we're going to be able to jump on it with our kites. So I think it's going to be a really cool day. I think it's going to be pretty scary.
First impressions when we got there was, yeah, shit, this is big.
Like we were halfway out and we just seen Ben whip Sean into, whoa, I don't know how big you'd call it, but it was huge, and my nerves just kicked in as soon as I saw that.
And so I was first out into the lineup, and I was just sort of feeling it out and you know, seeing how big it was really. I was just tacking along and my kite just popped mid-air and just fizzled and, you know, fell straight in the water, and I wasn't even looking at my kite, I was sort of looking where I was going, so I don't know what happened. That's never happened to me before, ever. And there was a bunch of crew out there that had come to watch, and they came straight over to me and they're like, dude, a bird just popped your kite. So apparently I didn't see it, but they all saw it when I was tacking out. A bird just flew straight into it, and I guess its beak just, you know, punctured my kite and it just popped. And it all makes sense now when I came back in and checked it out. There was just like a perfect puncture hole, you know, right in my kite. Right there, I thought that was the end of my session. Went into the boat and I had another kite. I tried it, and I had a tangle, but I still could fly my kite. It was, yeah, pretty crazy start to the day for sure.
When I was on the boat pumping up, I was actually pretty nervous, thinking, you know, this is pretty decent size, a lot bigger than I've ever kited. And the winds were ideal for keeping the wave clean, but not ideal for, you know, getting the hell out of there if a section drops and you want to race, because the wind's blowing you straight back at the wave. So as soon as I got on the board, I was kind of sweet. I just wanted to get out there and wasn't as nervous as I thought. Pretty intimidating, crawling over some of them, looking down, just going, that's a long way down.
So I'd caught a few waves, but I didn't really know how big it was. And then when Ryland got out there, I seen him take off on a set, and I was just basically tacking back upwind and in the perfect spot, you know, to see him drop in and bottom turn. And when I seen him do that bottom turn and how big it was behind him, and that made me realise, you know, like how intense this session that was going down.
And a lot was going on out there, and tow guys are out there, and dudes paddling in and kiting, and first wave at Cloudbreak, I was stoked to be out there with boys. It was really hard to do turns out there. It was windy, it was really windy, and every wave I was on, I'd pull off the back at the end and I would just get launched.
I guess this was probably Brodie's, one of his first trips overseas, and so to be thrown straight out at Cloudy on your first time kiting here, and it's like pretty intimidating for anyone. And yeah, he's only like 18 years old and he was charging out there. He actually got one pretty decent wipeout too, that was pretty funny. Yeah, he got back out there after that and got a few more, and yeah, he was charging.
The whole chopper experience was an emotional roller coaster for me, especially. You know, there was a lot on the line for it. We only had a half an hour window. The sun was sort of coming in and out, and the sets would pulse for half an hour and then they'd slow up, and it was supposed to rock up at a certain time and it ended up being 2 hours late. So we basically had to stay out in the water for 2 hours waiting for the chopper to come.
We waited around. You could see Bandy was getting pretty gutted. He'd been waiting for this day for years, and yeah, we saw a little thing, black dot sort of flying up, leaving the island. We were pointing at it and he just started frothing. The sun came out. It just pretty much from when the chopper got there, waves cleaned up. We scored.
So we were 4 hours deep into our session in solid waves. So it takes a lot of energy, and I think, like by the time the helicopter came, the wind had got a bit stronger, and Brodie especially, he was just buggered. He just couldn't go anymore.
Yeah, when the chopper came, I was so out of it. I had no energy, but wish I did. Ben and Rye, I just watched them get wave after wave, and that was so good to watch.
Mark and Reef were out there, Rico was out there, there was a couple other guys out there paddling, and those guys were just throwing themselves over and into those. It was really impressive, and they had all that wind to contend with as well. In my eyes, those guys took the gold that day as far as how much of a challenge it was to get into those waves. And communication was great. Of course, we'll tell them right away that they have priority. Anytime they want to go, whether or not we're already coming down the line, they can go. Of course, we have the ability to straighten out or kick out, but we were kind of helping them out too by giving them numbers, hand signs to let them know which wave's the best wave, or if there were waves outside, and obviously hooting them on, and then they were hooting us on as well, cheering us on as we were dropping in. It was inspiring,
Ben's been wanting this swell for years and been sort of studying maps and weather patterns, trying to get it on, and he definitely deserved the bomb set.
I remember getting this one, and it was considerably bigger than any of the other ones.
Benny just dropped into this bone, it was well overhead, and it was like, I was just watching it and I was like, God, he's big. Like, it was live and derby out there.
I was on, you know, my 6'1", strapless, and it was not meant to be ridden on that wave. And I remember just going down the face of the wave, and it actually never let me get to the bottom of the wave. It just kept, there was so much water drawing off the reef, and I'd already picked a line and I knew where I had to go, but I just could never get there. And I felt like the whole wave I was just on my tippy toes, just going, you know, like any second this is going to go completely wrong. It wasn't clean, there was like a slight bump in it, and I was just basically just on that edge of just destruction. And I got to the end, and I remember when I got to the end, I was like, that was one of the heaviest waves I've ever caught on a kite, and I only just made it. But it was, you know, that's what I came for. That's what I wanted. You know, that feeling of taking off on something that you don't know whether you're going to make it or not, and you make it. So it was pretty cool, and that definitely was the standout for me for sure. Once in a lifetime right there.
We got it. Start.
It's really quite amazing that everything came together, swell, wind, and having other people to ride with out there. Having Ben and the other crew out there made it so much easier, because I thought about what it would be like to be the only guy out there kiting. It would have been a little heavy, you know. It's kind of good to have that camaraderie out there. Everybody's cheering each other on, and everybody got tons of waves, and it was pretty amazing.
Just to be a part of this trip, to actually have Ben ask me to come here, it means so much. And that day, yesterday, was such an experience. I'll never forget that day.
You just got waves everywhere. Yeah, as far as trips go that I've been on, this is hands down, you know, the best one I've ever done. Still trying to get my head around it really. It's, yeah, I'll never forget this trip for sure.
These are the days and these are the moments that I live for, and I just can't wait for the next one already. I'm just frothing so hard at the moment. I'm really stoked. So thank you, Fiji. Love you long time.